All systems go. Cleared for takeoff.
What's up, everybody? Big Marley 3 from SHIPIT Nation here to break down the Week 8 NFL Tiers Slate for you guys. Before I get into tiers, I want to mention that we have a 10% discount available right now over at SHIPITNation.com with promo code NBA10. The NBA just started, and we have already had a few big wins over in our Discord. All sports are included for just $69 a month, and we have been crushing all sports. Now you can save 10% with that promo code NBA10. So come join the nation and get in on these big wins. Once you sign up, you will get access to this 4-hour educational video from our guys Hoop and Tambo. They are two of the best in the industry, and they're giving away all their secrets in this 4-hour video. Hoop talks about winning the Millie Maker last year, and Tambo crushes qualifiers and live finals. So he talks about his strategies for those, along with a bunch of other great information to help you guys become better DFS players. They also just launched this 2-hour NBA course to learn from as well. So there's really no better time to sign up. All sports are included for just one price. All right, let's jump into this tier slate. By now, you guys know that I like to start with my quarterback tiers, and those are tier 1 and tier 5. Tier 1 is usually the tier I'm going to mix in all 4 of these guys into lineups, and then I'll try to narrow down my player pool in other tiers, including tier 5. This week, my favorite option in tier 1 is going to be Jalen Hurts. The quarterback facing Washington this year has been a top 12 quarterback on the week in 6 of their 7 games. And Hurts had his most passing yards of the season in week 4 when they played Washington. He doesn't have to be stacked because he has 6 rushing touchdowns on the year, but I do want him stacked with at least one of his teammates. And we have a couple options this week. A.J. Brown is in tier 2, and he is averaging over 140 receiving yards in the last 5 weeks. And his best game of the season came in week 4 when they played Washington, where he caught 9 of 13 targets for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. That is 41.5 DraftKings points. And I want to go right back to that stack. Hurts also has Devontae Smith in tier 6, and he is due for a big game. And he's also the more contrarian stack piece. And then they have DeAndre Swift in tier 7 that we can toss into stacks as well. But I like him more for my non-Hurts lineups. We basically have Hurts and Mahomes projected for the same amount of points this week. But Mahomes only has one pass catcher in tiers, and that's going to be Travis Kelce in tier 2. I do want to lock in Kelce into all my Mahomes lineups, but I expect that's what most of the field will do as well. So that's why I prefer Hurts. Just there's more ways to get different on a same projection. So I'd rather go there, but I'll still make a couple Mahomes lineups. And if we want to, we can throw in Isaiah Pacheco into our Mahomes and Kelce stacks, but I do like Pacheco more if I'm not using Mahomes in tier 1, just hoping that he gets the touchdowns instead. The next guy on the list is Lamar Jackson, and he's coming off his best game of the season, scoring close to 40 DraftKings points last week. Him and Hurts can both get there with their legs, so they don't have to be stacked, but Lamar does have 2 late stacking partners in tiers this week with Mark Andrews in tier 7 and Zay Flowers in tier 8. I'm fine double stacking him with both of those guys, but I do want one of the 2 in each of my Lamar lineups. Unless it's a cash lineup, I don't really care about correlation in cash. I just go off the best projected plays. And then our lowest projected in tier 1 is Tua, so I do expect him to be the lowest owned in this tier. But I do still like him a lot, especially if he's the lowest owned, because we know where the ball is going on this team, and the Dolphins have the highest team total on the slate. I want him stacked with at least one of Tyreek Hill in tier 2 or Jalen Waddle in tier 6, and I am fine stacking him with both of them. I'm also fine throwing Raheem Mostert into those 2 stacks, and all 4 of those guys should be the ones that rack up almost all of the fantasy points on this team. So I like to make it a point to get a Dolphin in each of my teams each week. So that's probably what I'll try to do here. If I don't have Tua, there's a good chance Mostert makes my lineup here in tier 3. But the Dolphins are just such a high-scoring team that it's hard to leave them out. All right, and then tier 5. It's a tough quarterback tier this week, but I'm still going to try and X out 1 to 3 of these players from my player pool. My entire tiers player pool will be listed over at SHIPITNation.com every week with notes on every player in the pool. Dak is currently our top projected player in this tier this week, and he has an easy stack partner in CD Lamb in tier 4. He also has Tony Pollard in that same tier if you want to get different with your Dak stacks and use him instead. And that way you hopefully lock up all of the Cowboys' offensive touchdowns with those two guys. And then we have Cooper Kupp in tier 2 and Puka Nacua in tier 3 that can be used as runbacks for those Dallas Cowboys stacks. And then we also can do the same types of lineups with Matthew Stafford in tier 5, but he's currently our lowest projected player in that tier. Our second highest projected player in tier 5 is CJ Stroud, and he's played really well this season. He has a clear stack partner with Nico Collins in tier 8, and he also has a clear run back option in tier 4 with Adam Thielen. Both of those wide receivers have been playing great this year, and they are averaging the most in their tiers. Trevor Lawrence has our third highest projection in this tier, and both of his pass catchers are in tier 8 with Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk. I do prefer the Ridley side if I'm stacking up Lawrence, but they also have Travis Etienne in tier 4, and nobody's getting more work this year than Travis Etienne, and he's averaging 28.5 DraftKings points the last 3 weeks. So I'm fine tossing him into Lawrence stacks as well. And just kind of loading up on that Jaguars team. Kirk Cousins has both of his stack partners in tier 8 this week, but it's a tough matchup. So he might be one of those quarterbacks I end up Xing out of my player pool, but he is averaging the most in this tier, and he did score 25 points last week without Justin Jefferson. So I'm not against using him, but I'm just trying to make my pool as small as I can. And then I do want some Joe Burrow exposure this week, but he only has one stack partner with Jamar Chase in tier 3. But I do like that stack a lot. And then the 49ers have 2 great run back options with Christian McCaffrey in tier 2 and Brandon Ayuk in tier 6. And I like using either or both of them in my Burrow lineups. And then once I get my stacks figured out, most of my lineup is already built for me. So I just plug in my favorite plays around that. If you guys need projections or want to know how I am attacking each tier, just head over to SHIPITNation.com. My entire player pool will be listed. And you get access to everything on the site for 10% off if you use that code NBA10. I will be back with an afternoon slate breakdown and a primetime slate breakdown. But if you guys can hit that like and subscribe button for us, it really helps out. Good luck in tiers this week. I hope to see some Ship It logos up top. Thanks for listening. Go ship something. We'll see you next week.